The officers were escorted out for questioning, their careers hanging by a thread. But Marcus didn't gloat. He simply looked at the judge and said, "Now you know why I stayed silent." In the following weeks, the story spread nationwide. News anchors replayed the footage, calling it a lesson in humility and truth. Many praised Marcus for his calm restraint, others questioned how such injustice could still occur. But for Marcus, it was never about headlines, it was about change. He implemented new policies, ensuring no one would be treated unfairly under his watch again. The same officers who had mocked him became examples in training programs across the country. Marcus never sought revenge, he sought reform. His message was clear: dignity isn't defined by uniform or title, it's proven through actions. Months later, Marcus returned to that same precinct, not as a defendant, but as a leader. The new recruit stood in silence as he entered. His words echoed through the hall: power isn't about control. It's about responsibility. Those who once doubted him now listened with respect. The same walls that witnessed injustice now held lessons of accountability. As Marcus left, a young officer saluted him, whispering, "Thank you for showing us what real strength looks like." He smiled faintly, walking into the sunlight. The world had changed a little that day, and sometimes, that's all it takes. When the final note faded, the silence was deafening. No one dared to clap. Miss Collins cleared her throat, trying to regain control. "Lucky guess," she muttered, her pride stung. She quickly announced that Jamal would perform in front of the entire school next week, to prove his so-called talent. The students gasped. Jamal's heart sank, but he saw through her plan. She wanted him to fail publicly. That night, he sat by the old piano in his grandmother's house, hands resting gently on the keys. "Don't play to prove them wrong," his grandmother said softly. "Play to remind them who you are." Those words stayed with him. As his fingers moved, the music became his heartbeat, every note a promise that no one would take his light away again. The day of the performance arrived. The auditorium was packed, students whispering, teachers watching closely. Miss Collins stood near the stage, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. Jamal walked slowly toward the piano, his heart racing. He could hear the murmurs, some hopeful, others cruel. But then he looked out into the crowd and saw his grandmother smiling proudly in the back row. Everything changed. The fear melted away. He took a deep breath and began to play. The notes flowed like a river, gentle, then fierce, then soft again. His music filled every corner of the hall, reaching hearts that had never listened before. The room was silent, not from boredom, but from awe. Even Miss Collins' expression began to soften, as if the walls she had built were slowly falling. As Jamal played, something incredible happened. The audience felt every emotion he poured into those keys: loneliness, hope, resilience. Some students who once mocked him found themselves wiping tears from their eyes. His music wasn't about race or talent anymore, it was about humanity. When the last note faded, the entire hall stood in silence for a heartbeat before erupting into thunderous applause. Miss Collins blinked, stunned. She hadn't expected this. She felt something deep inside: shame, admiration, maybe both. For the first time, she looked at Jamal not as a boy to ridicule, but as a musician to respect. After the performance, Jamal stood backstage, overwhelmed by emotion. Students came up to him, some apologizing, others thanking him for what he made them feel. Miss Collins approached slowly, her usual sternness gone. "I misjudged you," she admitted, her voice quieter than he had ever heard. "That was remarkable." Jamal simply smiled. "I didn't play to prove anything," he said gently. "I just played what's real." She nodded, unable to find words. That night, Miss Collins sat alone in her classroom, listening to the faint echo of Jamal's performance in her mind. For the first time, she realized that true teaching wasn't about control, it was about understanding. Weeks later, Jamal's performance became the talk of the school. He was invited to join the city's youth orchestra, and his story spread far beyond those classroom walls. Miss Collins began encouraging every student to find their voice, no matter who they were or where they came from. And Jamal? He never stopped playing. His music became a bridge, between people, between pain and hope, between silence and truth. In the end, he didn't just change one teacher's heart, he changed an entire school's perspective. And as his fingers danced over the piano keys, one could feel it, the sound of transformation, of courage, of a boy who refused to be silenced and instead taught the world to listen.